Welcome to the Peace, Harmony, and Joy podcast. I'm Ken Brandeis here with my co-host Scott Frank. Scott's the guy who literally wrote the book on the topic, Peace, Harmony, and Joy. Hey, Scott, we've got a great guest today. Tell us about Chris Eaton.
This is someone I met really in the last year, and it was a real gift because I was going to, it was a class on leadership training, and I knew there was going to be some meditation in there. It was all virtual. I didn't know that I was going to have a chance to actually get to know anybody, but they had breakout rooms and they had some opportunities to get acquainted. And it's funny in that meeting. It was him and his wonderful wife, April. And I could just tell both of these people were truly living peace, harmony, and joy. And what I didn't know at that time was their journey. And I asked to talk to them afterwards. I said, hey, we got a lot in common. I think it'd be great to have a conversation. And what I learned about Chris and his wife is just how much they've been through, and how they were applying their experiences to having these amazing lives. And so I'll just tell you, Chris is a military guy. He's an engineer. He's into a lot of different things that are for good health. And I'm gonna let Chris tell you his journey and how he's applying all these things he's learned. But I'll tell you, he's also had some scary moments in his life. And I think when you hear what Chris has been through, I think it's going to really even give you a deeper appreciation for where he is today, and to give everybody a sense of hope that everybody can live a great life if you really apply yourself. It's in you. So with that, Chris, welcome to the show. We're excited to share you with our audience, and what can I say? I'm going to hand it back to Ken, and we're going to get this thing going.
So, Chris, I look at a lot of people's backgrounds on LinkedIn and social media, and yours is probably the most diverse. You have your hands in so many different things. I don't know how you tie it all together, but what we're going to ask you to do to start is tell us about your journey, your background, your story, and all the different pieces and parts you have going on.
Well, thank you both for this opportunity. If I get off track, please bring me back on.
We're really in. Don't worry about it.
I grew up outside of Chicago, in a suburb, with my mom, dad. I had a younger sister and an older sister. I When I looked back originally, I said, "Wow, I had a really good childhood. My parents gave me almost everything. I never had to question if there was food on the table. I always had a place to live. We still had family vacations. I had a very good education, actually, in a very diverse neighborhood. My high school ended up being in Oak Park River Forest, which is a very progressive suburb right outside of Chicago. And that exposed me to all sorts of walks of life. It was all different races, all different religions. We had foreign exchange students. So it was over 5,000 people in my high school. And I think that was one of the grounding things that really turned me into the man that I am today. Uh, from there, I ended up going into the military, and I went to Virginia Military Institute, got a degree in mechanical engineering. Enlisted while I was in college, bringing a little bit of extra funds. Plus, one of my senior mentors said, you can't lead if you haven't been. So I decided to enlist. And then when I graduated, I became a military officer, and I led troops for the next 4 years, 15 months, which was in Baghdad. Fantastic experience. Being over there, getting to lead troops. Something they don't tell you as a military officer is you're going to pretty much be a life coach. You're not just doing things for the government and accomplishing the mission. You're trying to inspire the men underneath you. And it wasn't all on my own. I had an amazing staff. Smoke Brodus is one of mine, that worked with me to raise these men. And that's talking to them about their finances, about their personal lives, about their marriages, about being a good dad, saving money, and then not doing silly things that are going to end up getting you hemmed up afterwards. Meaning, make some good life choices as best you can. And then on the bad nights, maybe picking some people out of jail or taking them to the hospital and making sure of their well-being. I didn't realize I was training to be a parent uh, later in life. But we had a great time. I've been to 45 different countries. I love travel. I love culture, and that started in Chicago. Um, one thing that I found among all of my travels is that, well, everyone just wants to live a peaceful life. They're doing the best that they can to make the best money that they can to provide for their family, to put food on the table, to give them shelter. And I found that as one of the greatest common denominators of all humans across the world. But yet, that's not exactly what I was taught in the classroom growing up. So I love traveling. I love meeting people and experiencing the cultures. Now, I wasn't exactly trained. I missed the whole memo, or maybe I slept through the class, which maybe I'm guilty of a little bit. But I had no emotional intelligence. Uh, if I experienced something, I did not know how to navigate it, so I just wrote it off. I put it into the same category of, wow, that was a weird movie that I watched. You know, those horror movies. We're not sure why we watch them. You just kind of shove it to the side. You're like, I don't know what that was. So when I grew up, I experienced things. I was shoved in lockers. I was jumped a lot, and I didn't understand why. I just kind of put it to the side, and that continued through high school. And then, of course, I went over to Iraq, 15 months with the military, and then another 3 years as a civilian contractor. And I experienced a lot of things that I don't really talk about, but when when I did experience them, I put them into the same category. And so when I got off of active duty in 2010, I still had not dealt with any of that, and it all caught up with me in 2018. I kept coping for many years, just drinking alcohol, or watching a movie, or going out and doing something crazy, or finding adrenaline rush. I'm a huge scuba person. I love scuba. But it does have an adrenaline rush side. And so I got into scuba, then I got into technical scuba, and then deep scuba. And it's a passion of mine. It's serenity. It's maybe going to be chapter 17 of the next PHJA book of why scuba is therapeutic. Um, but yeah, so it all caught up with me, and I hadn't realized that between my physical chronic pain with my back, some injuries from the military, and then the undealt with 39 years of emotional trauma would ever catch up with me. So I bottled it all, and I tried taking my life in 2018. When I woke up that following morning, I asked myself three questions. How did I get here? How do I never go back? And how do I help others do the same? Since then, 2018, I spent the next 5 years going through, taking all these medicines that they offered for anxiety and depression and this and that. And then I went through therapy. I went through church therapy because I have a very heavy Christian influence in my life. But then I went to other psychotherapists and other doctors, and they all kept sending me the same repeat message of, yeah, you're going to have therapy and counseling the rest of your life. You're going to have to take these pills, and they'll just be part of life. And I said, no, no, this doesn't sound right. And so in 2023, I ended up meeting a psychotherapist who led me to the book called The Happiness Trap, which is a story about how you are not your emotions that you experience. They're just things that we pass through. And once I really understood that the emotions, no matter how heavy they are, no matter what the thoughts are that are coming across your mind, you're still not that. You're a sacred soul. You were sent here. You happen to be in this body. You happen to have those thoughts. You happen to have those emotions. But the person that's in charge is your essence, is your soul. That's your spirit. And once I had grasped on that, I began to really understand of where I had gone in life and gone awry, and why I had in 2018 tried taking my life, because my identity was wrong. My understanding of life and what it is to live and thrive was misperceived. And so I had to go back, and I really dove deeper and deeper into understanding of how I had spiraled down. And so I could get other people to come back out with me. And what I had found was, one, I had no daily practice. I didn't know how to change from negative to positive. I didn't know how to handle intense moments. I just avoided. Or if I had a really bad day, I would watch movies and avoid it and cope and drink or do something to distract myself. But I never sat down with me and thought through it all. Well, in 2023, I also came into meditation. And that's when I learned to still myself and become silent and to slowly start dealing with the things that would arise. At the end of the day, if we don't distract ourselves when we're laying in bed, the things that keep us up at night is really your spirit trying to tell you, hey, this is something I want you to work on, Chris. But no one told me that. So I was just like, "Oh, I can't sleep tonight." And then take another sleeping pill, drink another thing. Um, and when I started working through everything, my life got a lot better. The thoughts that were in my head started getting better and better. Um, I became more positive. I became more loving. I ended up going and exploring all sorts of walks, not just Christianity. I explored Buddhism. I studied the Tibetans. I studied shamanism. I studied ancient cultures from all around the world because I was trying to seek of who are the masters of the mind, who are the ones that can have the most stillness. And Christ is one. But you can see the commonality as you begin to explore some of the masters of all walks of life, from the martial arts to the Olympians to um, even the A-list celebrities that are able to manage their emotions and provoke an emotion. So that brings me to breath work. No one told me that breath work can calm you down within minutes, but yet the special forces were taught how to do breath work, and they were taught how to calm themselves before they enter the storm. And then after the storm, if they had to experience something of extreme, how are they able to manage that and come back down? Breath work. How do the celebrities change from angry to happy to sad to whatever? They're using different forms of breath work in order to manipulate the reaction of their body. But we weren't taught this. So I learned it all and I studied. And now I'm able to manage my emotions and I'm able to switch wherever I need to go. If I need to raise my energy levels, I know how to raise it. If I'm overly excited, then I know how to regulate that as well. A balanced mind is a strong mind that we can have higher influence and control over our life. Um, and so that led me to Mendar, in which Scott had mentioned earlier that when I was on that advanced training, that I had met Scott, and that led me to PHJ. So my journey continues in learning how to be more resilient on a day-to-day basis, how to handle those strong emotions, which I still face. There is no such thing as perfection, but there is a way to be more resilient and handle more things with better grace, we'll say. So I'll pause there.
So, I mean, it brings up a ton of questions for me. Um, but can you talk about what you do currently?
Yeah. So on a day-to-day basis, and I learned this one from the Dalai Lama. When he wakes up, he reminds himself, I took a breath today. Others did not. And when you come to that realization that you were gifted the breath of life and you were alive when you woke up and others were not, it gives you this greater gratitude for being alive. And what are you going to do with that gift that you were given? And so I practice that and I think about that, even if it's just for 30 seconds or 2 minutes until I finally realize. Because I tell Scott every every now and then, I'm like, dude, the temptation to wake up and take accountability of everything. I look around and I'm like, oh man, okay, yeah, my back hurts. I've got a headache. I think I slept wrong. I got a big schedule today. So I call it my violin. And I could pick up my violin and play it. And April, my wife and I, we could argue back and forth on who's got the bigger violin. But we choose not to. We choose positivity. And that starts with gratitude for waking up. So that's part of the practice. And then movement to some sort, even if you're just going to get up and do some stretching. If you want to go all out, go to the gym, do yoga or something like that, feel free. But for me, it's at least moving, stretching, getting the body going. So oxygen has the ability to flow throughout the body. And then feeding your body right, which I could probably spend 2, 3 podcasts talking about how cleaning up your nutrition and having the right amount of water in your system will increase your resiliency, your patience with life, and your connection to everything.
So so I was asking you're a death doula from what I
Yes.
understand. So can you explain what that means?
So death doula is a term more used in Mexico and South America. In the US, the trend is more end of life doula. And if you know what a birth doula is it's a non-medicinal person that will help you give birth without having to take all the pain meds and go through everything else. So what we do is we teach breath work in order for the moms to be able to have their baby holistically without all of the extra drugs. And in death is one of the most emotional things that anyone will have to face. That's why we have funerals and processions and all, and the dealing with grief and loss takes a lot of work. Instead of bottling it, it needs to be vented out in one way or another. And so as a death doula, we're teaching people how to go through that, how to deal with the emotions. So I'm working with a dying person. If you have the luxury of dying on your bed or in your home, there's a lot of thoughts that will be coming through your mind as you're just laying there contemplating your life. And that's called the life review, is you're going through everything that you did, everything that you didn't get to do, any regrets that you have, any forgivenesses that you should have asked for or that you need to give, is all those thoughts will come through your mind as you're laying there. And my job is to be a witness, to help them. And then, of course, to help them physically to relax into and calm into their final breath.
Wow, that must be incredibly emotional, but also what a learning experience. Because I imagine people's thoughts at the very end are the most salient thoughts that they'll ever have. Is there a common theme to what people are thinking at the very end?
I wouldn't say that there's a common theme. There's definitely a lot more truths that come out, and when you come to the realization, and you'll see this as well in people that have near-death experiences and stuff, is that you really understand what life is about the closer that you get to the end, or the closer that you do get to death, is why was I wasting my time on that? You'll see people do career changes, um, and then you'll see a lot of healing that ends up happening because they were holding on to grudges and stuff that they weren't meant to hold on to. And so they generally do find peace. There's some people that hold it.
Well, that's to me, again, I think that's the most, base level of understanding is when you're doing what you do and you get the kind of raw kernel of what they are learned in life, because that's what they're kind of talking about at the very end there. So Scott, let's part or segue that into peace, from peace, harmony, and joy.
I was thinking the same thing. He's talking about peace when someone's on their, end of their life. So it's interesting that perspective. Uh, Same time, what about peace when you're in the middle of your life, at the beginning of your life? And so, uh, I will just say, I've gotten to know Chris pretty well this year, and um, not only is he, got a lot of energy and positive thoughts, and helpful person, kind of a big heart, but I'll say, and I've noticed that he really has this kind of calm demeanor. He really just seems to, really just, be in a peaceful place. And so, Chris, for our audience, would you please share, what do you do? These some tips on how do you find yourself getting into this peaceful place on a consistent basis?
I think in progressive societies that we are more used to our day-to-day life facing joy, positive. We don't really look at suffering and have to see it in our face. If you're in more of a third world country or in a war zone, like what the people of Ukraine are going through, you see death, you see suffering, and it is a common thing. It's in your face. For us, at least, how I grew up, it's in the movies. my version of suffering back when I was a child was my sister finished the Cocoa Puffs before I had a chance to have the last bowl, you know. I'm kind of over exaggerating a bit because I did go through some things, but if you face your fears, life becomes so much more amazing. If you spend your life running from them and hiding, you get smaller and smaller and smaller, and life becomes worse. You need to look at your shadow, and that's where, in my line of work, you're facing your death. Is what am I wasting my time on? When you really strip down yourself down to your values and your virtues, life becomes so much easier to navigate. When something weird happens, you know whether it's in alignment with you and your mission. So if someone says, "Uh, you're an idiot," well, are you? Do you know yourself? Do you know your values? Do you know where you're heading in life? How well do you know you? Are you an idiot? You're not really an idiot. But as a kid, do you know who you are yet? And so you take that as an offense as a kid because you actually think you are. But the older that you get, you really start to know yourself, or at least you should. So master who you are, know your values, know the direction know where you're at, and then know where you're going. And so along the way, when the weird things happen, you know what is you, what is not, and when to get rid of that friendship or when to dive deeper into it. Um, I also, the biggest change for me, and we can elaborate on this one a little more, was when it was 2018, I tried taking my life. I didn't take my life just because it was a drunken night. I had for a long time really hated who I was and the path that I was taking. Like I did not love myself. But once I understood myself and I really started getting to know who I was, I loved myself. I finally came to a resting place and I was like, man, I like this guy. And I was able to forgive myself. And that was in 2023. And that's when my entire life shifted is once I accepted myself for who I was. And I had to shed some habits, get rid of some things, like I gave up alcohol, and a few other things. Then I was finally able to love life and love others. And when you truly love yourself, not in a narcissistic way, you just simply accept who you are, your faults too, your shadows. Life's beautiful because you see everyone else is in the same struggle bus. They're beautiful, but yet imperfect. Perfectly imperfect. I think I mentioned that one to you before.
Yep.
I like that.
It's interesting. I mean, you've got a lot of things working to, get you in this, kind of calm demeanor. But just getting back to some of the things you said, you've seen suffering. I think you pointed out, I mean, most people who are watching this, their suffering is nothing compared to what you've seen. And that's, I think when you've seen real suffering, um, and you look at what's going on in your life, I mean, you're able to put things in a much better place. You got a much different perspective than most people, and I think that's got to be a really good way to deal with stress or anxiety because it's not that bad. And I also like what you talked about with your fears because you know everybody's got them, but the question is what do you do with them? And the fact that you seem to like embrace them and you basically are not afraid of them, I think that's got to be another big way to kind of keep your anxiety at a low level because again you're not worried, you know it's going to be okay. And I love how you love yourself, you love the people around you, even though we're all imperfect. I mean that's the none of us are God, right? We're all imperfect, but we're beautifully imperfect. And I think by having that kind of mindset, everything that happens, is okay. And it's just, but it's how do you get your mind trained to be thinking that? And it's, you've worked hard on it. I appreciate, just how much you put into it. Again, I've seen you in so many different situations, and you are consistent. You consistently seem to have this really calm demeanor. Now, calmness, peacefulness is the foundation we talk about with peace, harmony, and joy. But to get to consistent joy, you got to have this harmony about you. And I want you to share a little bit about, how you not only discovered your best self, but how you actually, made the change, because 2018 was tough for you, and I'm sure there's been other times in your life were tough. But what happened that you literally said, "Hey, I can live a better life. I see a better life that I was created for, and I'm going to do it." Tell us a little bit about how you identified that and how you made that change.
So there's different times in life where you see what I call beyond the veil. Moms see it when they give birth. Dads experience a little bit of it when they first hold their child in their hand. You feel it when you win a gold medal, when the crowd is clapping for you, whatever it is. There's something that just gives this thrill where you're like, wow, I really struggled to earn that. And the taste of victory was so beautiful. That's beyond the veil. You can get that through breath work. You can get that through meditation and prayer, through coming to stillness. And the yogis will tell you you can get that through raising your kundalini. You can you can do plant medicine, which is what some of them do. But the whole point is that you're able to see beyond the veil. You're able to see that there is a better way of living, that you don't need to suffer on a nonstop basis. It's hard to see beyond the veil when you have chronic pain and every day you wake up and every inch of your body is in pain. It's hard to see it when you're a child living in an oppressed household where you're not seen or heard, or worse, you're abused, or you're in the marriage, you're trapped in a marriage, or you think you're trapped, and you're stuck. You feel stuck. So how do you see beyond the veil? Once someone sees beyond the veil, you have the taste of freedom. And so for me, when I realized that the way that I was living and the choices that I was making, particularly with alcohol, and I was very pessimistic, I was angry. I thought playing with anger was fun. I used it in satire and sarcasm. But at the end of the day, when I was laying there at the end of the night, the thoughts that were in my head were not peaceful. I was not happy. And you hear this story again and again, like you think making money. I made, quite good for me. I made quite significant money in the six figures, and for me that was amazing. Yet I was still like, wow, it's not any more joyful than less than this. Like why am I still not happy? That's because happiness comes from the stillness of true acceptance, full acceptance, unconditional love. So once you see beyond the veil, but you also realize whatever you want to call God. I found that there's many different terms of all the religions that I've seen, but um, the oneness of everything. If God is omniscient and omnipotent and He is all things and everything, I don't know everything. Therefore, I'm not God, but I am a part of it. So I'm somehow a piece of this major pie. Everything in life is part of God, divine, creator. And when you realize that you're just a piece of the pie, but then Scott, you're a piece of that pie, and Ken, you're a piece of that pie. Well, can I have divide? Can God hate God? I mean, if you just sit there and think about that for a while, you can't really hate another human being because you know that they're perfectly imperfect the same way you're perfectly imperfect. Now, I might not like your imperfection, but that doesn't mean I need to hate you. I need to shun you. And that's full acceptance. That's oneness. That's the unconditional agape love that the Greeks talk about.
That's great. And so it's interesting. Again, I like this, beyond the veil. I mean, everybody's got more to themselves than meets the eye, and I like how you have explored that, and again, to discover your authentic self, your best you. But I also like how you're translating it now to others, because it's amazing when you have peace, harmony, and joy within yourself, when you're truly living your best life, how then you can see it in other people and you can experience it and they can experience it with you. And this unconditional love with yourself, but it looks like you have this with others. So just even talk a little bit more about how you experience peace, harmony, and joy with others.
I like the book Five Love Languages. It's one of my favorites, and I call it before I really understood how to love other people. I kept researching on these things because I had different relationships I was in. I was like, how to love? Oh, yes. Step one, give them kind words. Step two, spend time. So I would go to my calendar and I was like, must take out on date or must do this. I was very checklist oriented. But since I learned to love myself, love just pours out of me, man. I'm like, I'm at the store and I'm like, oh, I wonder what Scott's thinking. Oh man, that reminds me of Scott. I'm gonna buy that for Scott. Or, oh, I'm thinking of this. And it literally pours out like almost obnoxiously. I was like, you never meet those people where you're like, wow, they're so joyous. It's contagious. When you have that, the power of divine pouring through a human being is so unbelievably powerful. Uh, but now I still do that. I'm like, oh, maybe I could get this person a gift. Maybe I could do this, or it just comes out willingly. And then I have certain people in my inner circle of where I touch base with on a frequent basis, and I'm just there for them. I just like, hey, what's happening in your life? What's bothering you? Do you need to talk about something, or do you just want to go out and have fun? Um, One of the major changes is that I used to wake up and I used to have brain fog and exhaustion around 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, why am I yawning? It's 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And after I went through all of this and I healed my emotional state and my logical state, and I healed my connection with Creator Divine God, um, I all of a sudden had all this energy. And instead of me asking for more hours in the day, I was like, wow, today feels like it's 40 hours. I got more done in those days than ever before. As long as I am like staying in tune and each morning I'm waking up and I'm filling my cup. And throughout the day, if I experience weird things, I fill my cup back up because traffic is we don't get along. Uh, People that are out on the road. It drains me, I should say. And we all have that thing in our life, that person or that task that we have to do. And so fill up your cup, fill up your cup, fill up your cup.
Yeah, because again, we try to get people to appreciate if you can feel peace, harmony, and joy within yourself. It's amazing how it overflows and affects everybody around you in a positive way. But if you don't, it's amazing how it's really hard to have peace, harmony, and joy with others. So it explains again when I've just seen you when I've been in meetings with you and just in conversations. I mean, it emanates from you, and it's just so great that you have found again this calmness, this peace, and this you're being true to yourself. You're living your best life. You're feeling good, and it's affecting so many people around you in a really great way. So you're a great role model, and I also know you're working hard to try to help as many people as you can, and everybody should have that mindset. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Well, I tell you, from my perspective, I'm going to hang on to that perfectly imperfect. So my wife tonight, when she gets on me about something, hey, Chris said I can use the perfectly imperfect. I love that. It's a great way for all of us to relate together and be more patient with each other and get along better. So that's to me, I love that. I'm gonna borrow that one. So well, we certainly appreciate your sharing your story and your insights. Um, it just fascinating background and an amazing journey to get to where you are today, Chris. Really enjoyed it.
Chris, really appreciate you taking the time today. And, again, you're a great role model. And at the same time, I know we're all on these joyful journeys individually and together. And just, wish you the best as you continue to explore and enjoy and help people. I'm just excited to be a part of it.
Thank you. I cannot
Go ahead.
forget. I have to say thanks, April, because she's my gem.
Yeah, I talked about April earlier. I'm gonna reinforce she's a wonderful person. Chris has a wonderful wife, and it's just wonderful to have her as part of our joyful journey too.
So for the Peace, Harmony, and Joy podcast, please follow us, like us, give us a 5-star rating, But most importantly, join us on this joyful journey to bring peace, harmony, and joy to the world.